Hi, I am Jessie Davis. I am a younger person with short hair, and I have a couple of necklaces on with a long sleeve shirt. It's a little chilly here. I have a virtual background on that is hiding the mess behind me, so you're not distracted during this. And I am so glad that you all are here. I think I said that like 5 times, but I really am glad that you all are here. We have a couple of slides to go through here. But I want to invite you all, or welcome you all. You're already here. I don't need to invite you. I want to welcome you all to our webinar, Building a Peer Advisory Committee to Advise State Entities, which is spotlighting Arkansas on our webinar series. We are the South-Southwest, me, where I work, is the South-Southwest Mental Health Technology Transfer Center. We cover Region 6, and so we provide training and technical assistance along with webinars like these to the states and tribal communities within them of Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. We are really excited to get to share this group of wonderful, awesome people with you. And I want to make sure to thank Jimmy for bringing everyone together to share the wonderful, awesome, amazing information that they're going to share. Sorry, I'm just really excited. So I'm using all the adjectives I can. We do have a code of conduct that I want to make sure that I go over with y'all. I'm leaving it here on the screen so you can read it. You should have seen this when you were registering as well. The main gist of it is be kind, but also we want to make sure that you know if something happens where there is harmful language or a comment that is going to really disrupt what's going on because it's harmful or discriminatory in some way, we will reach out to you and we will ask for cooperation in a different way. And we will also work to make sure that this is a space where we can all show up. And this helps us to achieve a safe, respectful, inclusive, and positive environment for learning. So if there's any questions on this code of conduct, please feel free to send a message to the panelists. We will be happy to answer it. But again, the main gist is to be kind. I do have some housekeeping items as well. We have made every attempt to make today's presentation secure. If we do need to end the presentation unexpectedly, we will follow up using your registration information. All attendees are muted and you cannot share video right now. We are focusing on our presenters today as we are so grateful to have them. If you have a question for the presenters, please use the Q&A box. You can find it at the bottom of your screen. It should just say Q&A and you should be able to click a button and that will pop up and you will be able to type in a question to the Q&A box there. And I see somebody has just done so. Awesome. If you have a comment or a link for all the attendees, please use chat. Make sure you're talking to everybody in chat rather than just the panelists. There is a distinction and make sure you're checking to see who you are sharing that to. This event is also closed captioned. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see the option to turn closed captions on if that would be helpful to you. We will provide a CEU to those who fulfill the time requirements for being here. And we will also be recording this. We are recording this, not will be. And we will be posting the recording and any other information after this is complete. And with that, I would like to hand this over to Jimmy McGill, who is our moderator and amazing, wonderful state leader for Arkansas.
Thanks, Jessie. So this is actually our first time with the panel doing virtual and virtual descriptions. So you all bear with us. We heard Jessie do it a while ago. We're going to do a quick introduction and I will introduce myself, my role, and my virtual description. And then for the sake of organization and consistency, we're going to go alphabetically throughout the panel. One of our panelists fell ill and is not able to make it today. So instead of 5, you only have 4. And so with that said, my name is Jimmy McGill. I'm the state of Arkansas's recovery manager. My pronouns are he and him, and my virtual description is I am a handsome, white, bald man with a light colored beard, and my background is blurred so that you cannot see the mess behind me. And so with that said, I'm going to hand it to Desi and then Keith and then Shalinda. They're going to introduce themselves. And from there, we will go into the presentations, and then you will hear more from your panelists after the presentation.
Okay,
Desi?
thank you. My name is Desi. I am a peer recovery specialist in the Southeast region of Arkansas. I am a not younger and not older Black male. With that, I'll pass.
Keith?
Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Wright, and I'm a peer recovery specialist in Region 1, which is in Northwest Arkansas. Northwest Arkansas. I am a African-American male, and I'm in a blue shirt, and my background is also blurred, so you don't see the mess in my office.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shalinda Woolbright. I am an advanced peer support specialist. I work with AFMC. I am currently over Northeast Arkansas region. And my background, I am about like Jimmy said, I am a biracial, beautiful Black female. And my background is currently Black, red, and white. So with a Black shirt on. It's very, kind of make it cute. But that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. And so with that said, we are going to dive straight in to the panel. We want to save time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. And so with that, I have been tasked to go ahead and do a little interview about what it is I do. And as we, after the presentation, like I said, you will hear from Desi, Keith, and Shalinda about their role and what it is they do. And so I'm a person in long-term recovery. My recovery has been sustained since February 27th of 2015. My state job is I manage, develop, implement, and evaluate all of Arkansas's funded recovery projects, which includes building the infrastructure of peer support. Peer is both my passion and my purpose. It has taken a lifetime of mistakes and given it meaning, giving it just a purpose. I found that purpose through my past. And so I am privileged enough to get to utilize that in my day-to-day job. And so part of what I do for the state of Arkansas is oversee APAC, which is the Arkansas Peer Advisory Committee. And we're going to share this slideshow with you now. And so APAC is the Arkansas Peer Advisory Committee, and they are, oops, did not mean to do that. The first thing that Arkansas did when we built APAC was we did an environmental scan, a geographic scan to identify peer leaders across the 75 counties of Arkansas. Now, this scan that we did was based on a person's experience, diversity, and location. For us, we knew one thing for certain: the peer community, the peer profession should be led, governed, and guided by seasoned peer specialists. People who do not understand the field and do not work in the field should not be the people that are providing the oversight for the field. And for instance, a lawyer doesn't learn how to practice law from a mechanic, right? Because one uses a book, one uses a wrench. Same thing with a doctor. They don't go to a mechanic to learn how to use a scalpel. One uses a pair of pliers, one uses a knife, right? And so we apply that best practice that peers should be supervised by peers. And so no one should have the ability to speak for us but us. And so that was the purpose of building APAC. Now, what is APAC? APAC is a committee that is appointed by the Arkansas State Drug Director's Office and the Department of Human Services. Arkansas's got 75 counties. And so we have broken the 75 counties into 5 regions, region 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so it is comprised of 15 community stakeholders for the total region. Each region has up to 3 members, and each region has its own subcommittee that shares information, brings consistency and unification to that region. And then at the end of each month or the beginning of each month, they come back and APAC meets as a whole. And so we're also comprised of the 5 state agency members, which would be me and my staff. We also, to be a part of APAC, you have to be a certified peer worker. There is a waiver in the APAC bylaws that if you're not certified based on need and geographic location for your region, we have the ability as the oversight committee, not committee, that's a new word, I just made that up. We have the ability to waive the certification as long as you are registered and working toward that certification. And so we want our peer people to be advisors for best policy practices, funding, training, and the future of peer support. And so the other thing that APAC requires is extensive knowledge and experience regarding the roles of peer. Traditionally, we meet at the Department of Human Services in a large office, and a lot of fun topics are discussed, and it's usually a pretty awesome time. What is it we do? So APAC's primary responsibility is to advise the DHS Recovery Unit on peer recovery best practices and offer guidance to strengthen the peer recovery workforce across the state. So in the beginning, when I took my job, it was just me. I didn't have anyone in my lane. I was given the freedom and I was supervised by oversight that believed in me, that trusted my integrity, that allowed me the freedom to build the infrastructure of peer support. But as that got bigger, so did my task. And the bigger it got, the more I needed the voices of other peer experts, right? Because left to my own advices, I can think I know what's best and I only know what I know. And so APAC's primary responsibility is to keep me in check, right? To basically advise me and keep me included in new information and best policies. And it's just an amazing thing. One of the things that APAC does is in Arkansas, we have got what's called the career ladder, right? The Arkansas model is you can be a certified peer specialist, but then you have the ability to become an advanced peer specialist. And then after that, you can become a peer recovery peer supervisor, which is the finale. That's what everybody wants to get to. It's the highest paid peer job. It's the job that is in most demand. And you cannot get to the next level without graduating training and passing your state exam. And each level of training requires 500 of hours that can only be signed off on by a peer recovery peer supervisor, which is a safeguard that ensures that only peers are supervised by peers. And so we're finally in discussions with Medicaid about recognizing our model and the supervision piece. We finally merged. Mental health and substance use are all one agency when it pertains to peer support. And so APAC approves all future peer recovery peer supervisors. So even if you make it to that level, APAC has the final ability as a committee to sign off on that. And so basically that ensures that only the best of the best are allowed into that supervisor peer role. Another thing that APAC does is they approve all of the continued education hours for peer certification. We actually contract with NADAC to provide the test and manage our supervisors so that we can pay the supervisors for providing supervision. But when a person makes it to that level and they get approved, since it's a unique system catered to Arkansas, APAC is the only entity that can approve the continued education hours. You've got to submit a form describing what it is, who the presenters are, and then APAC will review that, vote as a committee, and then that will hand that to the NADAC program manager to recognize or not recognize that. The other thing is that they determine a person's eligibility for additional training or testing requirements. So if a candidate fails an advanced test twice, then instead of being able to schedule it a third time, they are referred to a subcommittee of APAC to figure out what the issue is. There may be learning disabilities, what the best way to get them trained is, and so they go from there. That has not occurred this far, but that is part of what we do. And the last thing is we assist the certification entity in vetting the training applications, making sure someone is qualified to be a peer worker. A lot of times people think that their personal recovery qualifies them to be a peer. That makes them a person of recovery. What makes you a peer is your training, your ethics, your responsibility, your supervision, and your credential, right? The fact that you're in recovery from substance use and or mental health is what qualifies you for that training. And so we're pretty thorough about the roles of peers, what we do and don't do. So here's the regions on where APAC is at. I told you that Arkansas has been broken into 5 regions. And so each region has its own subcommittee. Each region has up to 3 members that sit on the main APAC. And so here are the APAC members currently. This is actually a little outdated. And you can see Desi's got his hands full in Region 5. He's got 13 counties within his region. And so it's just Desi. And so Desi's still in the process of building out his subcommittee. And so, yeah, that's it for what we do as APAC. And that is it on the presentation. I do want to say that one of the coolest things that we get to do is they advised me, we just got $260,000 that we have to spend on certified specific tracks for peer training. And so APAC vets those trainings, they review the curriculum, and they advise me. And the DHS recovery unit, even though there's 5 of us, we only consist of 1 vote, right? And so it's actually 15-1. APAC actually has the loudest voice, and we tend to listen to them. There has not been a situation yet where the state and APAC was at opposition with each other. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Desi to introduce himself and tell you a little about what he loves about APAC.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Hello to everyone. My name is Desi Sims, and I too am a person of long-term recovery. I have now been on this journey just north of 22 years. August 17th of 1999, this date marks a most momentous date in my life. I remember reading the words of Mark Twain, and Mark Twain stated that the 2 most important words or the 2 most important days in a person's life are the day that he was born and then the day that he found out why. So this date of 1999, I began a quest of finding out why I was placed here on this planet. However, I must admit that this discovery was not totally discovered by me, but rather it was revealed, orchestratively revealed, that my role in life would be to be a paracletate, an advocate, if you will, to the population of people that find themselves isolated and exiled on the islands of addiction. Our state manager, Mr. Jimmy McGill, has already articulated so very well what APAC is. So I just want to simply share from the thought of what is APAC to me. Again, I restate some of the words that Jimmy has stated. APAC, it is an organization whose primary responsibility is to advise DHS on best practices, to offer guidance, to strengthen the peer recovery movement across the state. I want to say now that I am very thankful for the peer specialist works that I have been able to do in the Southeast region of Arkansas at Delta Recovery Center. That is an inpatient drug and alcohol treatment center in the jails in my community and in the community at large. I have walked side by side with many of my peers. I've heard their hurting stories, and I've shared mine with them. I have laughed with them, and heaven only knows the abundance of tears that I've shared with them. I have allocated countless hours of phone visits, in-person visits, jail visits, Zoom visits with them and their families. And for some of them, I made certain that this Christmas they did not have to spend it alone. So when looking again at the question, what is APAC to me? Well, I must say that the works that I have been granted by God to do so far as a peer specialist, they have been astronomical. APAC now is a platform that I have been placed upon that I might do even greater works than these. So not only do I have the opportunity to continue my side-by-side walk with the peer, but now as a member of APAC, I have been allotted the privileged position to review, examine, and vote on policies to make certain that there are no policies that have been implanted that are completely politically saturated, that have solutions that do not solve, that have cures that do not cure, and blessings that do not bless the intended parties. As I move expeditiously, I want to look at the third objective of this training, and it states that participants will learn the structure of the Arkansas Committee as a model. Now, there are 4 of us, and we only have 1 hour between us, and we could spend 100 hours discussing this topic. And at the end, we will still have to say that by no means do we conclude that we have been exhausted on the subject. So when looking at the Arkansas model, there are 2 words that immediately come to mind, and those 2 words are diversity and inclusivity. These 2 concepts, they are absolute vital necessities for the continued success and survival of the peer movement across Arkansas. Now, in reference to inclusivity, APAC's coverage is divided into 5 regions that has been intentionally, strategically designed to cover all 75 counties located in the state. There is not 1 acre of the geographical landscape of Arkansas that APAC has overlooked. In reference to diversity, the Arkansas model, it is comprised of persons of various races, multiple races, various religious beliefs, sexual orientations, gender identities. The diversity, it is as diverse can be. In brief summary, in reference to diversity, the APAC committee looks like, it thinks like, and it believes like the populations that we have been entrusted to serve. Now, time would not allow for me to do a meticulous exploration of the structure of the Arkansas model. So with these 3 minutes that I have remaining, I want to talk not so much about the external structure of the Arkansas model, but rather I want to be a bit personal, and I want to talk about one of the ingredients that is found on the inside of APAC structure. It is an ingredient that must be included in the internal workings of any committee that serves vulnerable populations of an area, a state, or a nation. That one ingredient, it is a concept that Dr. King called it universal altruism. Now, this thing called altruism, it is one of the threads that hold us together. Universal altruism is defined as regard for and devotion to the interests of others, regardless of the race, ethnicities, religious background of the others. Again, universal altruism, this is the moral practice of having concern for others. This is a picture of what APAC looks like. And now, this concept called altruism, it is so very vital and time will not allow me. I want to be respectful to my other co-laborers, the other panelists that are here. But in order for me to help you to understand this word altruism even better, there's a very brief story that I will not tell right now. Perhaps if time would not expire, I'll come back and dive into that word or that concept of altruism. It is very important to any organization. It must exist as part of the core of that organization. With that, Jimmy, I'll turn it back to you now.
Thank you, Desi. Keith?
Yes, hello, everybody. My name is Keith Wright. Man, I'm gonna follow that. That was beautiful, Des.
Thank you, Keith.
Again, you know, I'm also a person in long-term recovery. It had taken me, my sobriety date is actually April 12th, 2007. So it took 30 years for me to get 14 years of sobriety. I would like to say, you know, share a little bit about, you know, what recovery has done for me in my pathway to recovery has given me a revelation of self. You know, recovery has enabled me to be of maximum service to my creator and the people around me. I have become an expert. And this is the neat thing about this is because I have become an expert on how I got clean and sober. And being a peer recovery specialist, I can use my lived experience and help others and on their journey to recovery. You know, there's multiple pathways to recovery. And that's the neat thing that I love about APAC and being a peer is because I can use that lived experience to share with others. You know, I am in Northwest Arkansas. I am in region 1. It's 17 counties in region 1. Myself and 2 other people in this region sit on the APAC committee. And the neatest thing about this is I am new to this. You know, I was one of the ones that grandfathered in from Oklahoma, and to be vetted in the process of, you know, the core training and all of that. Right now, I've just completed my advanced core training, and I'm working on now under a supervisor. The model that APAC has to be a peer recovery specialist, to move on to a advanced peer recovery specialist, and to be a supervisor is a beautiful model. I love the way it's set up. I get to be, and it's not so much, you know, I was elected to this panel in November, to the APAC committee in November. And I get in being in this region in Northwest Arkansas of these 17 counties, you know, I get to bring back to the APAC the voices of the peers in the community and the people that we serve, not only the people that are affected by the disease of addiction, but the families, which are also most affected by the disease of addiction in the community. And with that, I'd just like to bring it back to Jimmy.
Very good.
Thanks, Keith. Remind me to come back because I know you guys have a subcommittee that you've been meeting. So
Yes,
we'll talk about
you.
that later.
Yes.
Shalinda?
All right, hey guys, my name's Shalinda, and by the grace of God, I've been in long-term recovery now for 15 years. I actually got a birthday coming up next month, and that'll be February the 20th. So I'll be coming up on 16 years. So I got chosen to be on APAC committee, man, and I was so humbled because I mean I get real emotional because I'm so passionate. This is something that I'm really passionate about. So if I get emotional, just bear with me, you know. When I got the text, I was just so beside myself. Like I don't think Jimmy knew how much I really I mean, it meant to me to even get chosen to be put on this committee. And what APAC mean to me is that what it means to me is that I am the voice, about like what Keith said, I am the voice for my region. I'm not only just for my region, but for this state, for other states, and for other people that's struggling from addiction, you know. And I get an opportunity to advocate for all of us, you know, because I'm just, by the grace of God, I just got daily reprieve, you know. And I just kind of like a brief history why I'm so grateful. I came from a small country town in South Georgia. I knew nothing. When I say I knew nothing about recovery, I knew nothing about recovery, and I knew nothing about the resources that was available to me. And for me to be a part of the APAC and be able to get an advisory committee, I mean a committee on the side, and be able to reach out to these little small regions and to go out and tell people about the resources that's available to us or available to them, man, it just means the world to me, because no addict needs die from the horrors of addiction, you know. And what I like about APAC is that, you know, that they offer multiple pathways. I mean, they teach multiple pathways, and then they educate us to accept multiple pathways. See, I don't know about you guys, but see, I came from a 12-step fellowship that only promoted abstinence based, you know. So this gave me the opportunity to kind of broaden my perspective, to look and see that, you know, I mean, everybody is struggling, you know. We was talking about some of the qualifications to become, you know, on the advisory committee. I wanted to kind of talk about that, because some of the qualification is, you know, I need to be qualified, and I need to be certified, and I need to go through the training. I need all of this stuff, because there's so much misinformed information that's out there, and that people getting about how to become a peer support specialist and all these different other trainings that popping up. You know, I can talk for myself. You know, when I first got hired as a peer, when this thing first popped off, you know, I got hired as a peer. I got hired to pretty much confront peers. You know, when I got hired as a peer support specialist, I got hired to confront people, and then I was asked to do drug tests and all this type of stuff. That's why it's so good to get the education that's needed, because that's not what I do. What I do as a peer support specialist is I meet a person exactly where they at, you know, right where they are in their recovery, you know, and I'm there to just support them, to help them on their journey. You know, another thing too is that I need this experience as a certified peer support specialist, so that I can go back to this committee and say, hey, look, these are the areas that I'm struggling in. These are the areas that I need help in. And one of the areas, and so that we can better educate the peers that's coming behind us, you know. I don't know. What I know is that I'm so grateful to be a part of this advisory committee, because it's like Desi was talking about, man, the diversity. You know, each one of us came from different walks of life. You know, each one of us came from different pathways. You know, each one of us came. I mean, you know, it's just, and then for us all to come together with one common bond, you know, and get, look, it hasn't been any like really difficult things that we have had to talk about, but there is some disagreements, you know what I'm saying? But we're able to disagree without being disagreeable. We're able to come up with a solution that works, not for us, but for the people that we're trying to serve, you know? So I don't know. I love being a peer support specialist, because this is something I do every day in my everyday life. But I was just doing it in one area, and now I get an opportunity to do it in a whole state. And if I visit anywhere else, I could pass the message on, you know. So I'm so grateful to be a part of this committee. I'm so grateful to be here, and I got a lot more to say, but right now I'm going to give it back to Jimmy.
Thank you so much, Shalinda. And so I got to say this, Shalinda is an advanced peer specialist for the AFMC, which is an Arkansas agency. And so that's the importance of APAC, right? Like, because Shalinda hit on, she was being asked to do things that are outside of her scope of practice, according to her ethics and core competencies and what the role of a peer is and isn't. And so APAC is in a position to bring unification and consistency across the state, you know, and so that was really good. Thank you, Shalinda. Before we jump into Q&A though, Keith, did you want to talk anything about your subcommittee that you guys
Yeah.
have?
Yeah, because in Northwest Arkansas, we have set up a subcommittee in Northwest Arkansas. And the neat thing about that, because I really wanted to bring up these two things, the Arkansas Peer Advisory Committee Facebook page and the Take Back, Arkansas Take Back website, to where, you know, we use those. I've used those to look at the different counties in our region, which has a list of the peers that we have that are either in core training and are PITs, and to reach out to these people, because these are peers in our community. What I've noticed a lot about some of the peers early on that were brought into that got into this, you know, doing the peer stuff, a lot of them are being utilized in the treatment industry, but not in the roles of peers. And to use that website, the Take Back website, and the Arkansas Peer Advisory Committee to reach out to the people in our communities, the peers in our communities, and bring them together. We as a whole are greater than the individual by itself. And that's the other neat thing about APAC, you know, the APAC committee that brings each of these counties in these 5 different regions together.
Yeah, that was good.
Jimmy.
Thank you, Keith. And so, Jesse, we can take questions and answers as we move forward to. I know that the topic of this is to how do you build a peer advisory committee in your state? And so we didn't just do it in Arkansas. One of the things we did was we immediately, you know, we meet with Region 6. And so we got with Noah Abdener, who is the Director of Peer Services for Texas, and Jesse and Jennifer. And we began building out the Region 6, which is Arkansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and I think 68 federally recognized tribes. And so we wanted to bring the consistency that APAC has all across our region. And so New Mexico has a peer advisory committee, and so does Oklahoma. And so when I say that, I don't mean a couple of peers who sit on the certification board. That's not what APAC is. APAC is only peer specialists who are making decisions for the peer workforce. We all have that common purpose that Shalinda talked about. Our only goal is to increase the peer infrastructure and to bring solidarity to our profession, right? To be a respectable, standalone, recognized, loved, and sought after profession of recovery from mental health and substance use, right? Recovery is recovery. And yes. So we want to be inclusive, and we want to empower everybody, communities of color, LGBTQIA+, veterans, hard to reach populations. We want everybody at the table, right? And so I wanted to hit on that. And Jesse, I see Jesse in here, so I'm going to let her do her Q&A stuff. Yay, the fun part.
Well, thank you so much for all of you delving into all of the information and details that you have. I wanted to really highlight this Q&A question that we got from Elise Padilla, asking, how can we support a healthy workforce? We hear about self-care and such, but toxic workforces and role confusion exist far too often and have been seen to have a negative impact on the decisions of peers to recertify, or worse, even remain in recovery. So again, I'll read the first part of it, which was the question: how can we support a healthy peer workforce? And I think that would be a really unique perspective coming from you all as an advisory committee made up of peer supporters. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
Anybody else want to take a stab at that?
Well, one of the first things that we do as a committee, I think we support each other very well. I remember when I first came aboard APAC, and I was talking to the committee about my schedule, and State Manager Jimmy, he just simply said, "Man, you're too busy." So I immediately went and eliminated some stuff off of my schedule. Jimmy's been here for a long time. And, you know, so I just took that as very, very good support from my state manager. And I did. I had to give up quite a bit of money, but as we say, you know, in the streets, all money is not good money. So I think that's a big plus for us, is that we're family. We are a business organization, but we have like a family atmosphere. We laugh together and we encourage one another.
I can stab at this from the workforce environment. What I would probably say is, if you're trying to look for, let me look at that question one more time before I say anything. How can we support a healthy peer workforce? Communication. Communication is the key, not just with the peer, but probably with all of the staff, and not just, you know, and because with my experience, when all of us come together and all of us get an opportunity to talk, there's no confusion. There's no assuming, or, you know, or playing Cleo. I don't know if you guys know who that is. That's the psychic person that has the psychic ball, you know, but there's none of that, you know. We can just kind of lay everything out in the open if there's a problem, just with communication.
And I would like to add, you know, the one thing about peers is our ethics, the ethics that we use to govern ourselves, the peer committees and our ethics.
Mm-hmm. You're muted, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My dogs were barking and I could hear them, and I'm like trying to tell my daughter to go tell my wife, put the dogs up before the whole region hears my dog. So yeah, those are really good answers. I would also like to add, I want to say, you know, the first part of the question is, how can we support a healthy peer workforce? For us, the way we did it in Arkansas was we built a peer advisory committee, right? Because it's like Desi said, we get overextended and we get depleted because we are constantly pouring into people. And so
Right.
Keith brought up our ethics, and we are governed by our code of ethics. And the first ethics in the first code in the Arkansas State Peer Recovery Ethics is, I will keep my personal recovery first. And so how do I do that properly, implementing my own self-care into my life without overextending myself? Where do those checks and balances come into my personal recovery? And so APAC plays a very vital role in building that healthy workforce, because we will advocate. Advocacy is such a huge part of what we do. Like right now, there is a university in Arkansas that is charging $400 or $500 to, you pay that and you just go get your peer certification. Apparently, they just put you right through class, no supervision, no ethics, no core competencies. And so APAC, as a state advisory committee backed by legislation and tied into Arkansas code, has the ability to say, hey, this is an official letter knowing that you are bringing inconsistency and confusion to a profession in the state of Arkansas. We would like to sit down and have a conversation on how we can rectify these challenges, right? Like, because we already have one training in it. And so we've got a really tight ship. But the other thing on that question, I love the second part of Elise's question, but toxic workforces and role confusion exist far too often. So true. The way to eliminate that is to have proper peer supervision. As a peer recovery peer supervisor, I am in the state of Arkansas, I am to the peer workforce what a clinical supervisor is to a clinical workforce, right? So my voice should be respected. When I go and say they cannot do that, that is outside of their scope of practice. You are taking them out of the role of peer support. And if you want to have a truly effective peer program, you need to let them operate based on their ethics, their scope of practice, their competencies, and the evidence that we have historically got in place on why we do things that we do the way we do them, right?
Amen.
Shalinda was being she was being told to drug test. Listen, if you're peer is about equality and mutuality. There is nothing equal about us if I'm in an authoritative position telling you to take a drug test. I'm out of my role of practice if I'm collecting rent money from you. That's a house manager. That's not peer. Don't ask me to testify because I'm governed by CFR 42 Part 2 confidentiality, right? Like I can be required by a judge to testify by a subpoena, but that's it. And so, you know, my role is as a peer worker is to support that person, not to report on that person. And if that peer is sharing vital information about their lives with me that he or she's not sharing with other people, then that should be celebrated, not met with, no, you tell us what. No, at least she trusts somebody enough to where they are sharing their challenges and what's really going on. And if you remove that trust, you kill the rapport. And I'm no longer allowed to do, I'm not in a position where I can offer true peer support at that time. And so peer supervision eliminates the challenges that the second part of that was talking about. If the agency is like AFMC or DHS or DYS or the sheriff's office, they employ peer supervisors, right? That are certified in the Arkansas model. And so we have that ability, but without proper peer supervision, we do see the peer get co-opted into different roles. Sorry, I didn't mean to get long-winded.
No worries. I love your passion, Jimmy. We do have some more questions coming up. The next one is from Sean. He says, I have a two-part question. First, how do you ensure everyone feels like they have a voice on the committee? And second, what type of subcommittees do you have set up and for what?
It sounds like Sean from APAC. Somebody, Desi, anybody?
Yeah, I'll speak on this because we do have a subcommittee here in Northwest Arkansas that in our region, which we have just met the second Thursday of every month. Well, actually, sorry, the first Tuesday of every Thursday of every month, we meet prior to we meet with other peers in this community and in the other counties. Now we have just decided to travel to different counties in our region. We have a total of 17 counties in our region, and where we have peers at, we're going to travel to different counties because part of the thing is the peers in the community, the ones that the feet are on the ground, the ones that are in the community are the ones that share with the APAC committee, like myself and there's two other people on the APAC committee. We bring that back to APAC, the voice of what the people are in the peers in the community are sharing. And so, you know, that's the importance of the committees and in each of these counties to bring that back to APAC.
Okay, and Jimmy, down in the Southeast region, we are lagging. I'm very new to the APAC committee. We cover 13 counties. Right now, I am in the process of developing or getting together, reaching out to all of the PITs, peers in trainings. There is no one else currently certified in the Southeast region, but I think I have about 7 who are in the process and very close. So I am now reaching out to them. I've heard back from 3 of them, I believe. So we will be meeting by Zoom. And one of my main roles with them is just encouraging them to continue that process. It is a lengthy process of becoming certified in Arkansas, well worth it. When you're finished with the process of getting certified, you feel a sense of accomplishment. So we will be developing that committee. Jimmy, I should have a report for you at our next annual monthly meeting.
All right, so I want to say something about the subcommittee as well. So what we have in the Northeast region, our subcommittee, pretty much we have peers in almost each city almost. I mean, if we have enough in Northeast, not unfortunately, Desi don't have that many. But what we try to do is we try to come together and we try to figure out what we can do to better serve the people in our region, to better serve our people. What can we do to get the information out? Like we come up with, like we need some some advertising stuff so that we can get out to the community. We come up with like community ideas as far as like community events, you know, when COVID lifts or whatnot. What we do basically is we just a voice for the people. You know, we just come together and we speak for the people in all these different regions, and we try to figure out ways to better serve these people. Like if they need treatment, if they need peer support, whatever they need and whatever resources that we can get to them. That's what the subcommittee, that's what we do. And we bring it back to APAC. And then we pretty much discuss it as a group and try to see what we can come up with to help Desi in his region, you know, because he's liking some peers in that area. Now, my experience on the APAC committee, as far as how, I think Sean asked the question. The first question was, first, how do you ensure everyone feels like they have a voice? I don't know if that question was for Jimmy, but with my experience, what I have seen is that, you know, we're asked, do anybody have any feedback on anything that we're discussing? And then we discuss it for a while and then we make a motion to move on, you know? So that shows me that everybody that's on that committee, you know, had an opportunity to share on it, and then we make a motion to move on after we discuss it, you know? So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
You know, and some of the, yeah, that's very cute. Love it. Sorry. I'm working from home, schools working from home. So I got multiple stuff going. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Recovery's giving me a life. What can I say, right? Some of the subcommittees, we have a training subcommittee that vets the training applications. We have a CE and education subcommittee. They are specifically tasked with vetting the applications. And so committees and subcommittees within APAC as a primary committee, those committees and subcommittees are built based off of need. So if a need arises, like in a conference committee is needed, we'll create a subcommittee for that. So the answer to the question, I think, is subcommittees are based off of need, and when a need arises, we create one.
Right.
Jennifer, Jesse, do we have other questions?
We do, and I have one that I want to bring up. If you were contacted by a peer supporter or a peer recovery coach in another state without a peer advisory committee or without a consumer group for the state or a peer group for the state that was asking for advice in starting one, what would be one piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, the first question that I would have was, who's managing recovery at a state level, and is that person in recovery themselves, right? What makes APAC beautiful is I'm in personal recovery, and I want to see the recovery community be the voice for recovery policy, right? But what happens if you're in a state that doesn't have a Jimmy, that has a person that doesn't believe in recovery, that's managing a SOR grant, you know? So my sole piece of advice was take coffee and donuts to whoever's in charge of recovery, whoever's managing it at a state level, and start trying to impress the importance of having that committee developed.
I would just advise them to make sure that it is diverse, the committee is diverse, and it is inclusive. You cannot have a committee down here in Arkansas. We're in the Bible Belt, so most of the population is Christian, but it is okay and good to have people on your committee that are perhaps not of the same religion, not of the same faith, not of the same skin color. Make sure that it is diverse. Make sure your committee looks like, think like, and believes like the people that you are going to be serving.
Good. Did we answer the question, Jess? Do you want more?
Yeah, I mean, I want to also see if Keith or Shalinda have anything that they want to share too.
I'm good. That was good. That
Awesome.
was good.
I think that we have time for one more quick one. Does APAC offer workforce training for peers, like professionalism and, like Ms. Wilbright mentioned, communication skills?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the beginning, in the power slides, I told you that APAC is over the CEs, right? Like, so they vet those. But the other part that we're currently doing is we are working on APAC doing monthly webinars for continued peer education for and that was actually our Kyle Brewer, who manages our peer certification process in Arkansas. And he's got a really big job and he's very passionate about peers. And if you ever get us in the same room together for more than an hour, you'll know how passionate it is. We're at each other's head all the time. But he is hands down amazing. And it was actually his suggestion that APAC does the trainings for the peer support stuff. And I would highly encourage anybody to reach out to APAC for advocacy and for guidance and consulting. Like APAC, we're fixing to fund 3 RCOs, and those RCOs are dependent on APAC signatures saying that they're ready to be a recovery community organization. So I would encourage anybody to contact APAC for consulting or advisory.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are getting towards the end of our time. Do any of you have any last words or thoughts that you really wanted to make sure that you shared with the group before we head to closing?
I think I'm done.
Have a great day.
Yes, I've enjoyed it, and thank you so very much for the opportunity.
Right. I would like to say real quick that the education, I know, Jess, I'm sorry. The education, when we got the education in person, when we got an opportunity to do the education in person and we got an opportunity to like role play. And I mean, I think that was like a great asset to me as a peer support specialist. So yeah, to answer that last question too. So that's it.
Very good.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I so appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise and your experience with us. You had a wonderful webinar, and hopefully we'll see you all at the next one.
Thank you, Jesse. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.